Hey everybody, today I'm to show you how you can get more bones in gunpowder and less rotten flesh from your mob farm. So why would you even want more gunpowder, bones and all the other drops you can get from overworld mob spawning than rotten flesh? It's because rotten flesh is extremely useless. Of course, some people would argue that you can trade it for emeralds or feed it to your dogs, but trading rotten flesh for emeralds is one of the worst trades you can do. It's extremely slow. It's much faster to trade, for example, pumpkins and other crops like potatoes and carrots. That's so much faster than trading rotten flesh. Also, you can easily get rotten flesh from your gold farm in the nether, so there's really no need to get it from the overworld spawning. On the other hand, gunpowder and bones are extremely useful. You can use gunpowder to craft TNT and rocket cores, and you can use bone meal, for example, for tree farms or other crop farms, for example a nano farm, in order to get wheat. The trick how you can get more bones and gunpowder from your mob farm is surprisingly simple. It's build your mob farm in a desert biome. This is something we haven't been aware of for the longest time, but it's possible since Minecraft 1.11. So we came to this conclusion after I received a message from Cast the Iron Mattress. He wrote me on Twitter that he gets more bones and gunpowder from his mob farm that he incidentally built in a desert biome. So I investigated why this happens, and it's actually quite simple. The reason is husk spawning. So in a desert biome, 80% of the zombies are husks. Until 1.11, husks were just a variant of the normal zombie, but since then they are their own class of mobs. Now let's take a look at the mobs spawning in a desert biome. So as you can see, you get a lot of spiders, creepers, skeletons, the occasional witch and enderman, but very few zombies, as you can see here. And this is the whole trick. Zombies don't spawn as frequently in desert biomes. So there's a lot of zombies here, and the game is starting to lag. Maybe let's reduce the mob cap to 70 again, which is the normal one. And you can also take a look at the explanation of the carpet mod. So each mob type has a certain weight, which determines how likely it will spawn. So most mobs have 100, like the spiders, skeletons, and creepers. And that's the interesting part here. The husk has 80 in the desert biome, but it can't spawn, since in order to spawn it requires skylight access or skylight level 15. If you would go, for example, to a normal savanna biome, or pretty much any other biome except cold biomes and desert biomes, you can see the zombie has a weight of 95, so they're much more likely to spawn. And here in the desert biome, the zombie only has a weight of 19, and the zombie villager respectively of 1. The other 80 goes for the husk, which can't spawn. So now let's take a look at an unusual mob farm. This is a shifting type mob farm, but the same principles would also apply for other types of mob farms, for example a flushing type mob farm. Right, so every 5 seconds we clear all of the mobs, which allows new mobs to spawn. So you need to know about the mob cap. The mob cap in a single player world, or if you're alone on a multiplayer world, is 70. That means once you have 70 hostile mobs in a world, the game wouldn't attempt to spawn additional mobs in order to prevent your world to be overflooded with mobs. And this is the important part, since in a lot of cases a mob farm would be, the limiting factor of your mob farm would be the mob cap. And in case of this mob farm, since we don't have any husks spawning and just very few zombies, the absolute number of creepers and skeletons per filled mob cap is higher. So instead of having only about 22 skeletons or creepers per filled up mob cap, we can have up to 30. So we also get an absolute increase of bone meal and of bone and gunpowder drops. There's only one slight disadvantage. You need to provide a few more spawning spaces than usual, since all the attempts to spawn husks are not successful. In order to spawn more skeletons, you also need a bit more spawning spaces than with a usual mob farm. Alright, so in order to test my theory, I want to compare 2 identical mob farms built in different biomes. So this one is built in a desert biome, and over there we have the same mob farm with the same sizes, built at the same height in a savanna biome. So I got the first test results, tested a farm for 15 minutes, and we got about 14,000 bones per hour and about 14,000 gunpowder per hour. You can also take a look at the rotten flesh. We get 2,500 rotten flesh per hour, and in terms of witch drops, we're around 200 per type. So 230 redstone, glowstone a little bit less. Yeah, those need to be tested a bit longer, I guess. But about 200 on average per witch drop. Alright, let's test the Savannah farm next. So now we also got the results of the Savannah farm and tested it for 16 minutes again. On average we get about 11,000 gunpowder per hour and also about 11,000 bones per hour, but also 11,000 rotten flesh per hour, which we don't have any use for usually. Also the total amount of drops is just slightly higher. So as you can see, this farm is indeed limited by the mob cap. We actually don't require all of those spawning spaces here. Could make it smaller again. We would get about the same results in terms of total drops. So it's just 600 drops higher than the other farm was. The other was 45,700 and this one is 46,300. Also the amount of witch drops is also significantly lower, as you can see. So in total you get about 25 to 30% more useful drops in a desert biome. And this would also apply to other mob farm concepts, high end and low end, as long as the mob farm is limited by the mob cap in some way. So every technical server will probably in the future build their mob farms in a desert biome, that's for sure. You should also be careful that you don't build your mob farm in a cold biome, since there is stray spawning, which means fewer skeletons spawn here. So you would actually get more rotten flesh in this biome if you build a mob farm here. In case you want this for some odd reason, this might be an option, but usually you don't want to build your mob farm in a cold biome. I hope this video was useful for you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a nice day. Bye bye.